you found the one, you should never give her up.
Guys, welcome back to my channel Bantu Slap. My name is Lenny. If you're new here, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving us a portion of your time. Remember to go through our videos and watch every single one of our videos so that you're up to date with everything that we've been up to, especially our previous video, part 1 of this series, which focuses on how to better care for your hair and how to be an expert when it comes to choosing the right products for your hair. So remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, where we'll be continuing this series and guiding you through, learning your hair, understanding your hair, and buying the right product and developing a working effective regimen for your hair type. So we're gonna be taking it off from where we last left it last time on our previous video, where we focused on understanding the structure of hair, where I took you guys through every part of the hair shaft, which is the outer part of your hair. Like, we dealt with the medulla, we talked about how it is the inner part of your hair, how it's only available in thicker and coarser hair. Fine textured hair might not have it, and that science hasn't found any of its significance when it comes to caring for your hair. And then we talked about the cortex, which is the main part of your hair, which is made up of long fibrous protein chains, which gives your hair texture, gives your hair structure, which gives your hair that elasticity, which also gives your hair color. It houses the pigment melanin, which gives your hair color, different types of colors. We talked about those ones. And then we dealt with the main part of the show, which is the cuticle, the outer part of your hair, which acts both as a gateway and as a shield. I did say that it protects your hair from temperature flux, from mechanical forces, from any type of manipulation. Really, it is like the shield that protects your hair, and it also opens up to let in moisture, to let in nourishment from your deep conditioners to nourish your hair and keep your hair healthy. So we're gonna be taking it from that part, where I'm gonna be taking you guys into how now can you determine the health of your cuticle, because remember we did say that healthy cuticle, healthy hair. So how now can you tell the state of your cuticle? What is the best way to use in order to understand the health of your cuticle? I did say I'm not going to be using the float test and the strength test, because they've proven inconclusive, right? When I say the health of your cuticle, I mean the porosity. How porous is it? Porosity is just the ability of your cuticle to open up, to let in nourishment, and to retain that moisture and nourishment. That's just it, guys. Remember I had said that not knowing your hair can prolong your hair struggles, right? Not understanding your hair. This is the same with any other part of your body, guys. You know how when you don't understand your face, you don't understand why you're getting breakouts, that problem will persist and persist. But once you give yourself time to understand what type of skin you have, do you have oily skin, do you have acne prone skin, now you can narrow it down to understanding what products to use and all of that. So the same applies for your hair. If you don't understand how your hair behaves, if you are not cognizant of that, every time you wash your hair, every time you manipulate it, you're not gonna have an idea really of what product to buy and to use on your hair. So I'm gonna be helping you guys, get rid of that, confusion, and give you guys foolproof solutions for that. So we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna be using my journal. Like I say, that I want to give you guys the right information because I'm no crammer, okay? So I'm gonna be reading off of this. So when you see me looking down, please don't be upset. I'm just looking at my notes here. We're gonna be continuing with our part 2. I already told you guys what porosity is. We're gonna be looking into understanding exactly how it works. Or understand that porosity is an infinite spectrum. There is no one specific range, right? But the only reasonable ways that we can understand it and try to understand how it works is if we group it into 3 ranges or 3 groups, right? Where we have low porosity, we have medium porosity, and we have high porosity. Like myself, my hair is high porosity. So I'm going to try to give you guys a scientific understanding of each characteristics, right? The best way to understand the health of your cuticle is to learn how your cuticle behaves, which is to understand its characteristics when it is being washed, when you manipulate it, and all of those things. So how can you tell the characteristics for low porosity hair, right? I'm going to be giving you 3 characteristics. I'm going to try to explain as thoroughly as I can each and every characteristics with solutions, because most of them are challenging to you guys. So we're going to start with low porosity. Low porosity simply means that the cuticle of your hair is tightly flat, if I may. Remember we did say that cuticle is like a layer of scales like, or shingle like cells, right? So what happens with low porosity is that they are too tight, they lie flat, they are too tight, so that can make it difficult for nourishment from your deep conditioners, even moisture from you washing your hair, to easily penetrate the cuticle, right? So it needs help most of the time. So that's just what it means. It means that your cuticle layer is too tight. This can make it difficult for water, especially when you're washing your hair, because that is the best time that you should hydrate your hair, right? Washing time is the best time that your hair thoroughly gets hydrated. It can be difficult for that water to get into your hair shaft, and this is why they sometimes say when you wash your hair, try to rinse it with lukewarm water first, so that it relaxes the cuticle layer. That's what it does. It removes maybe like the oil buildup, and it relaxes the cuticle layer so that water, moisture can penetrate into your cuticle. Low porosity hair takes forever to dry. It takes forever to drench, and then it takes forever to dry. It takes ages. I've had people that they can go for 2 days and their hair will still be wet after they wash it. Like I said, that the cause for this is that, remember, the function of your cuticle is to act as a shield and as a doorway. So what happens is that once you introduce water onto it, the pH of water, which is 6.5 to 7, affects the pH of your cuticle, which is between 4.5 to 5.5. It's a bit acidic. So what happens is that the alkaline will affect the acidic pH of your hair, and thereby helping it to relax a bit. It's like a shingle, so it's like a layer of shingle. So what it does is that it will relax a bit, and it will allow in water. It will take in only what it needs, and then it will shut close to repel or reject what it doesn't need. And then that is what we call water beads. Those water bubbles that you see when you wash your hair, there are those water bubbles on your hair. I'll try to put a picture somewhere here so that you guys can understand what I mean. And then the ones that got inside the cuticle, because your cuticle layer is tight, it closed them in shut. It will take time for them to seep through or to escape from inside the part of your hair. I hope I'm making sense. It's to open for the water to go out. That's how your hair dries. That's what drying is, right? So what happens in your case, or in low porosity hair, is that it closes shut, and then it doesn't open easily for the hair to escape. That's why it seems like it takes forever to dry. What can you do to help your hair to dry quickly? Because sometimes maybe you need to wash your hair and go out. So what can you do? There are a couple of things that you can do to help your hair dry faster. Number one is use heat. I know that we always say don't use heat, but when it comes to low porosity hair, it's an exception. Heat helps to relax the cuticle layer. It helps it to open up so that nourishment can go in there, as long as you use it safely, right? Safely, I mean that don't put your blow dryer on maximum because you want your hair to dry quickly. It will damage the cuticle of your hair because it's fragile, right? So you need to use it maybe on a lower setting or medium setting. I mean, please do comment, how do you use heat on your hair? How do you dry your hair? What is the best way that you dry your hair that doesn't hurt your hair, right? And then the second thing is always work in sections. Make sure that after you wash your hair with a shampoo, you work in sections so that when it dries, there is enough air to circulate through your head. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is that you can use your t-shirt. I never really suggest that people use drying towels, simply because they're water wicking. They can take in more than what you need them to take out. You know what I mean? So you need to use a t-shirt. A t-shirt is more gentle and it doesn't absorb as much. So that will help you to sort of like blot out those water beads. And then once you remove that layer of water beads, then the hair that's inside can evaporate easily. So that's characteristic number one in its solutions. Characteristic number two is that your hair easily gets product buildup. I've heard of people who tell me that I washed my hair 3 days ago and already it's feeling gummy, it's feeling heavy. What could be the cause? The cause is that you probably have low porosity hair. What happens is that how your cuticle is, it's tightly packed, right? It's tightly packed and then it lies flat. What happens is that when you put a product on it, the product is going to take time, or the molecules of the product are going to take time to seep in through your hair's cuticles, right? It's easier for water because water has smaller molecules, and then your product can have heavier molecules that would need help. So what happens is that as you put it on top, it just sits there. You throw whatever you throw at it, it will just sit on top of the surface of your hair and just chill there. It causes product buildup. Product buildup is when you keep layering product after product on your hair and it just stays on top. It builds up. That can cause a couple of problems. It can cause, gummy hair, heavy hair. Your hair will eventually go limp because it cannot attract moisture from the surrounding area. The moisture is not able to penetrate through the cuticle because there's already a product barrier on your cuticles, right? And the heaviness is coming from that. The buildup makes your hair strand heavy. Hair can crunch up. The inner part of your hair will eventually dry out because it's not getting moisture from the outside, right? It will dry up and then your hair will be prone to breakage. So this is why people always say, I do put product on my hair, but it's still breaking. That is the problem. There's too much product buildup. Moisture is not able to penetrate into your hair shaft. That's just what it is. The problem also with product buildup is that the toxins and product buildup are one of the main reasons your hair feels out of sorts and is thrown out of balance because your scalp's pH gets changed. Remember we said that your scalp pH is slightly or mildly acidic. So it will change from acidic to alkaline, and that disturbance in the balance can cause scalp issues. You get itchiness. This is why when you haven't washed your hair for a long time and you've been putting product on it, you get itchiness and then it's time to wash it, right? Or your dandruff or just any scalp condition. I'm not saying this is the only thing that can cause those things. I'm saying it's one of the main reasons that's why that people get those things. This is how when you go to a dermatologist, they will suggest that you use a different shampoo, right? That different shampoo is just a clarifier. It's just going to clarify your scalp. We'll talk about clarifying in a minute. What can you do in order to avoid product buildup, and what can you do to help your hair better absorb what you put on it? Solution number 1 for product buildup is use heat. Heat should be your best friend if you have low porosity hair. Yes, please do use heat, right? I know the thought of using heat can be scary, especially that it can be detrimental to the health of your cuticle. But like I said, that if you use it correctly in the sense that you should make sure that you use indirect heat. Indirect heat, I mean using things like your thermal caps, your hooded dryer, your hooded what do they call them? They call them the heat bonnet. I don't know whether that's the same as a thermal cap, right? Just make sure that you don't crank it on high, right? Make sure that it's on medium, and then once you use that, what's gonna happen is that the heat is going to relax or help your cuticle layer to flex, and as it flexes, those nourishment from your moisturizers and from your deep conditioners that able to penetrate your hair shaft. And this is why we always say that when you deep condition your hair, especially when you have low porosity hair, use heat. It's basically for that purpose, is to help your cuticle relax so that it can take in moisture. So sometimes people, what they do is they can use that, or they can use the plastic. And you can use just a regular plastic or grocery bag, like some of you call it. You put it on after you apply your product, you put it on, and then you put on your shower cap if you don't have money to spend on those things. And you can let it do its thing, I would say for about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how tight your cuticle layer is, right? If 30 minutes is not enough, by all means do increase the time to an hour. Or what you can do, what some people do is that they put on their deep conditioners after they detangle, they put on their deep conditioners, and then they put that plastic in your shower cap, and then you go to bed. And then the heat that's going to be generated from your body is going to help to flex the cuticle layer, and then all those nice nourishments and moisture from your conditioner is able to penetrate into your hair shaft and bind with the inner part of your cortex and give your hair that health that it needs. So those are the two solutions that you can do for product buildup. The two solutions under heat. The second solution is that clarify your hair and your scalp. People, I don't know how many times I should stress this. People don't clarify their scalp. And okay, maybe one of the reasons is that you don't understand what clarifying is, right? So I'm gonna help you with that, because it does make a huge difference in how your hair, behaves and how it's able to take in nourishment. Now picture this: you put layer after layer after layer of product on your hair and you don't wash it. Some people can go for a whole month without washing their hair, and then they complain about their hair breaking. It's breaking because it's not getting any moisture because of that barrier of products. That's what's happening. So what you need to do is, when you've stayed for that long without clarifying your hair, without washing your hair, do clarify. The difference between a clarifying shampoo and your regular shampoo is that a clarifying shampoo gets rid of impurities, hard water buildup, especially here in Botswana. Our water is hard, so you need to clarify regularly. And it also gets rid of product buildup. It gets rid of silicones from your styling product, like your gels, your foaming products that you use for curling, right? Some of them, they do have silicone. Silicone, what it does is that it's not water soluble. It will just stick on your hair and it will create a barrier. Nothing is going to pass through unless you clarify, okay? And your regular shampoo will not get rid of the silicone. I'll explain why in a minute. Clarifying shampoo also gets rid of fungus bacteria. Fungus bacteria, what it does is that it will accumulate on your scalp, right? And then on the opening of your follicle. So the hair that's going to grow out won't be healthy. Sometimes, it blocks the follicle opening, and then it will seem like your hair is not growing, or that, you're experiencing a whole lot of things like alopecia, all of those things. I'm not saying it's the cause for alopecia, but it can lead to that simply because your follicle opening is blocked, right? So that is the difference. And then your regular shampoo, what it does is that they use detergents, like sulfates, and scrub the hair and scalp clean, therefore removing natural oils. I'm not talking about how nowadays there's a whole lot of gentle cleansing shampoos. I'm talking about the regular cheaper shampoos. What they do is that they remove everything, even the oils that you don't want them to remove. That's the difference between your clarifying shampoo and then those shampoos that contain sulfates, and then the natural cleansing shampoos. They do not wash your hair from the inside out. They're like a gentle cleanser. You know what I mean? Those natural shampoos, because most people use them nowadays in the natural hair community. The difference between a clarifying shampoo and the natural cleansing shampoos is that the clarifying shampoos, it has agents that can dissolve, dirt and grease and make them soluble. They're called chelating agents. They can make those greases and those whatever silicones and make them water soluble, so that you are able to just rinse them with just plain water. While on the other hand, the natural cleansing shampoos, they don't really remove everything. You know what I mean? So you can use them regularly. Of course, I don't suggest that you use clarifying shampoos all the time. A rule of thumb is that when you use those heavy butters, when you use them regularly, then you should definitely clarify every month, right? But if you don't use them, you use your liquid conditioners, your leave-in conditioners, your light oils, then you can clarify your scalp and your hair every 2 months. I think that's safe. It's safe to do that way, because what happens is that clarifying shampoo works by raising the pH of your hair to a safer level, right? And that can help in moisture and nourishment from your deep conditioners to get in or to penetrate through your hair shaft and nourish your hair, right? That's what it does. When you clarify your scalp, you remove everything. It's like purging your hair and your scalp of everything that's unwanted. You create a clean slate for new nourishment, for new moisture to be able to penetrate your hair. So it's like, giving your follicle that much needed refreshment after a long time of using product after product. I hope I'm making sense. We're gonna now move on to the third characteristic. Remember, I told you the first one was that your hair takes forever to dry, it takes forever to drench, right? And then the second characteristic was that product buildup. There's a problem, you experience a whole lot of product buildup, and I gave you guys two solutions: that use heat and clarify your scalp, right? Now we're gonna go on to the third characteristic. How can you tell that you have low porosity hair? The third characteristic is that it easily gets single strand knots, right? And here is why. Remember we said that low porosity hair just means that the cuticle layer is tightly packed, right? So what happens is that it will open up to take in water and then it will close, right? So as that water evaporates, your hair dries, and the drying process happens by the cuticle layer constricts, right? And then it will try to go back into the regular shape of the hair. Let's say you have kinky coily hair which has like tight coils. As the water evaporates, the hair dries in that form, right? In that kinky tight coily form. So when that hair sheds, it'll jump up like a spring, right? It'll jump up like a spring, and then it'll wrap itself, it'll get wrapped around the other hair strands, right? That's what happens, especially when you wash your hair and you don't section it, you don't plait it like I said. That is going to happen. This happens especially with tight, coily or curly hair type, if that makes sense. So people with straighter hair, what the hair that sheds just slides off, right? So what can you do to prevent single knot strands? First is you have to work in sections. Like I said, keep your hair stretched at all times. When you work in sections, let's say you wash your hair and then as you detangle it, you detangle and then you plait it in either your braids or your twist out, right? That helps the drying process. What will happen is that as your hair dries, it will be at least in that stretched form, right? So should hair shed, because hair does shed, it's normal for your hair to shed. Shredded hair, it will be easier for it to fall off, you know what I mean? And you can stretch your hair doing that, your twist out, your braid out, or using the African threading method, which is my favorite. I have kinky coily hair, so it's difficult to manage sometimes. So what happens is that as I stretch it, it remains stretched. I never leave my hair just floating. It's here and there, but it's not all the time, because it helps in handling your hair, right? Or what you can do is you can finger detangle. Finger detangling is a bit gentle than using those combs, right? You can finger detangle your hair so that you can be gentle with removing the hair strand so that it doesn't pull the other strands out, right? And then the third thing that you can do is make sure you trim your dead ends, guys. Those dead ends, they'll do more harm than good. When you have split ends, that's what I'm calling dead end. When you have split ends, what happens is that as it splits, it can wrap around the other strand, and then that will cause the single strand knots. So you should trim them out, right, so that your hair is free of knotting. These are just ways or suggestions that you can do to prevent single strand knots. And also, when you trim your hair, it helps you retain length, because what happens is that when people say that hair is not growing, besides genetics, you do not retain length because you don't trim your ends. Your ends, they are the oldest part of your hair, so they split, so they need to be removed, because what happens is as they split, they cause the other hair strand to split. That split can continue all the way. So when your hair splits, immediately remove it. Removing it will make sure that the length of your hair continues growing. You know what I mean? So as your hair grows, let's say your hair grows from here, it will keep growing. If it gets here, it rubs against your clothes, it splits, or you style it through whatever manipulation, your hair will split. So you need to trim it off so that your hair keeps retaining that length. I hope I'm making sense. So that's it for low porosity characteristics. I'm not going to talk about the products and everything because this video will be very long and tedious for you guys. I want you guys to stay in course, to be interested, to understand what I say. I want to just dump information on you guys. So we will talk about how what products to use on your hair, how and why it doesn't like protein, because sometimes people use protein on their hair, on their low porosity hair, and then the hair becomes very stiff. So we'll talk about that one on our next video, and also which products to focus on, how you can choose products for your specific hair porosity. When you understand the root of the problem, that's half of it solved. So let's understand our roots, let's understand our hair structure, how it behaves, why it behaves the way it does. I think this is going to be a bit longer than I anticipated. It might be a 5-part series, simply because this is our second batch and we haven't looked at products, we haven't looked at porosity, its products and its characteristics, we haven't looked at high porosity, its products and its characteristics. So bear with me. This is going to be very beneficial for you guys. It will help you save money, trust me. So please remember, if you liked what you've heard so far, and if it makes sense to you, please remember to like the video, share it with your friends so that they can also learn how to manage their hair. Remember to subscribe, because your subscriptions, guys, encourage me to keep posting, because it means that somebody out there appreciates what I'm doing. And also hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our coming series, part of the series, so that you have the whole information. Thank you guys for joining me today. Until we meet again next time, bye bye.